Rambam Perik Gimel Hilchas Erchen V'Charomim Halacha Beis. Rambam writes they're going to learn a couple of halachas here, and the goal is to get first of all a perspective of how Erchen works and how it affects certain halachas, and a major problem with one of the halachas we're going to learn today. So, the Rambam Perik in Halacha Beis starts Kol Erchen Aktsuvim B'Teira. Now, in other words, in the Perik Aleph, which we learned yesterday, there was details of how much each erech is, if we say this age and that age, and all the details. And here, the Rambam comes along and tells us that Kol erech naksuv b'teira. Hein shenoisen hamarech that the narech gives im hayosh, and he gives it only if he's a nash. Aval im hayoani vein yodim aseges. Interesting lush. Noisen kol hanimtze biyodai. He gives anything that he has. Just what he has. Afilu sela echad v'nifta. V'im mochu me'erkecha al pi asher tasig yad haneda. So the pasuk says, "Give what you can, give what you can." And the Rambam uses an interesting lush. Nice and kol hanimtze biyodei afilu sela echad v'nifta. Now, in other words, you can give as little as a seller. Halacha Gimel Minayin Shuhu Noisen Afilu Sela Echad. How do we know he gives even a seller? Now, listen to the way the Gemara, and this is the Lashon Gemara, which we're going to see in a second. From here we learn She'ein be'erchen pochis v'sela v'lo yisal chamish. So now that's mamish Lashon Gemara. The Gemara says ein erachim pochis v'sela she'chsiv v'chol erech chayiv v'shekla kedish kol erchen she'atamarech le'iyu pchusim v'shekel v'lo yisal chamishim v'sela. So the Gemara's question wasn't, how do you know you can give a seller? Why not? You give whatever you can. The Gemara's question was, how do you know you can't give less than a seller? The Rambam has a strange way of presenting it. In other words, it seems to me that there's a chiddush in that. There's no chiddush in that, right? The chiddush is the other way, that you can't give less. And he learns it out from Kol Erech Chayiv V'Shekla Kedish. I think that I'm saying something. We'll find out. Maybe not. Halacha Dalit. What happens? Harei shaloi nimtze biyodei afilu sela. Ein like chumena. Too bad. Don't take less than a second. Elishar hakoil olav chayiv. He now has a debt to Hegdish. Ve'imotza yodoi ve'heshe yitin erech sholem hakotzev. Then he gives all that. Now let's stop the thing for a second. He doesn't have. He says he's an ani, and he says erki or erech pleni alai, and therefore he can't give. He can't get. He has nothing. Can't give. Tomorrow he earns a seller, goes out, gets a job, earns a seller. So what's the halacha? Is that good? No good. He made an erech. He had nothing. What's that? He has a seller. He doesn't have it at the time of the erech. I think as a side point, and I think it's important, it'll help us with understanding later, that what the Rambam is learning is it's not shot. You can't give less. That's why he presents it. Less than if you don't have a seller, you're not an oni. You don't exist as in a status. You have no status. And once you don't have a status, we'll see. But then you're stuck with Usher. We'll see that soon. I think it's very important to understand that. You have no status. So I now I'm a noni. Now you're not noni. Now you have a seller. You're not noni. You weren't married. You didn't make an erech on it. We'll see soon. It'll make a lot more sense a little further. Now comes a couple of interesting halachas. Okay, let's skip that. Halacha. We got to read this and understand this, because this is what the main discussion today is going to be. Osher she'ama erki alai. Not says my erech pleini, which means he's going to be mechuyev in what? In the erech osher. Shama ha'oni, and the oni heard v'ama masha oma ze olai. I want to. I'm going to take on what he said. So now he says that only chayiv be'erech osher shu erech shalom. Yes, that I'm paying erech osher. Aval only sheherech esa oshir. But if he just says, I want the erech of this man, because you can say erech yalai erech pleini, and pleini is a osher. So basically, there's a difference if I say, if the other guy already was mechayiv himself, and I say I want his chiyuv or I want him. Kommt again the Reive, then Teine da Weltskash. Oma Avram zu Kirebi. As a machlekes Rebbe in the Chachamim, and Rambam is taking the side of Rebbe. Chachamim chelken alon. How can you say that? The Rabbanan argue in the Rebbe. Okay, one more halacha, which will help us in our understanding of this. Ma bein hachayiv be'erech oni lachayiv be'erech oshir shua erech hakotzuv kulei. What's the difference? Is hachayiv be'erech oni shelokchu mimenu kol ma sheyodei masages afil esel echad v'achkachesh she'enechayiv shalom. Finished. He's done. He's done. The mechayiv be'erech oshir ishar shar erech olav at sheyasher v'yashlim erech shalom. Yeah, which is he has to pay the rest when he gets the money. Nobody said, he's an oshir, but right now his money is invested. Or another case that we mentioned before, which I'll come back. So let's take the two cases of Perik of Halacha Vav, which is the main discussion of today. Is case number one. Oshir that said erki alai erech pleini. He clearly made a neder. He made a neder of erechin, and the oni heard this and said, "I want to pay what he pays." The Rambam paskins the oni pays the erech that the oshir made that was supposed to pay. But if the oni says, "I want the erech of this oshir," he pays regular whatever an oni pays. And the problem is, the Ravid says that's a machlekes. Now, where is the machlekes? We'll learn the Mishnah there in the Erechin. And the emphasis in the Mishnah, there is you could see this. You can say there is no machlekes. The problem is the Gemara seems to say there's a machlekes. Zog the Mishnah, hasog yad, to know how much you pay, whether you pay this lefi ashetas yad hanoider. So that goes according to the noider. Okay. So the Gemara says hasog yad bin noider goes according to the guy who made the erech. Ketza. You don't look at the guy he made the erech about. You look about our second case. Ketza. Oni sheherich esaosh. Oni that made the erech and said, I am taking on the erech of this osh. Noisen erech. That means he gives a sell. He gives one sell if that's all he can afford. The oshir. Sheherach es ani, noisen erech osh. No matter. The guy's a poor guess. Erech is not about the person's wealth and value. This is what it's a prescribed value of the Torah. It's a nether of a prescribed value. I will become honest. When it comes to carbon, ani, and osher, where we have a carbon elevated, is a mitzvah. And he say, I want to give the kabbanas of this mitzvah. How you mitzvah ani? Maybe carbon ani. Osher, maybe carbon osher. You've undertaken this guy's kabbanas. This is the Chachomim's statement. Rabbi Yomer, after Erchen came. Erchen is the same thing. There's a similar case in Erchen. And that's the way the Rambam reads the Mishnah. And the Raya is, as we'll see, the Rambam says so in Pirush Mishais. After Erchen came. Why? The reason he does it because he's saying, I want this guy's erech. This guy's erech means his prescribed value, which is whatever the Torah has given, and then he's yeah. Now, case number one of the Rambam. And exactly the words of the Rambam. I'm giving what he's in Pirush Mishnayos in the Rambam. Ein bein Rebbe v'Chacham machlekes. They don't argue. Elo, beautiful. By Elonu, Rebbe explains, hey, here gama erech k'may akar maladerech shama. All Rebbe is telling us that there is a similarity between carbon and erech. There is a similarity. There's a way. There is a way to bring them in the same under the same halach. There is times when they're alike, and the Rabbanu weren't talking about that case. That's the way the Rambam and Pirush Mishnayos clearly explains it. So the Rambam is not a problem, obviously, with the Ravid's question. David has a problem that Rebbe argues. How does know the Rebbe argues? The problem is that if you read the Gemara, it sounds like Rebbe argues. And that's what the Kesef Mishnah has. That's what everybody has. And Rebbe struggles. That's a Pella. How did the Rambam learn the Gemara? Good, he can learn the Mishnah, but what the Rambam learned the Gemara. It's like a Pirush Mishnayos, but where's the Gemara? The Gemara is on Yud Zayin. The Mishnah was in Yud Zayin Amar Aleph. The Gemara is in Yud Zayin Amar Beis Masechet Zerach. Zog the Gemara. The Gemara discusses whether you learn how do you learn out this halacha that by erchin and by karbonis you pay no matter what, you pay the amounts, and by erchin it's all the Gemara discussing the limudim from the boss. Zog the Gemara, Rebbe the Omar. According to Rebbe that says, Oimer ani af be'erchen ke. Be'erchen is also like this. Alma bosa chiyuva de gavra azlina. So we go according to the Gavra. You see that the Gemara is learning that Rabbi argues on the concept that a neider goes according to the neider, not according to the person that you're making the neder. So therefore, you don't need a pasuk because you can't learn from Erech. You can learn from Erech and you don't need anything special. So let me so the Gemara says, when it comes out and learn something, it's not negate it does. But the Gemara clearly says that Rebbe holds that Erchen has the same level of that. You can learn one Rebbe that it's Basa Gavra, I mean Basa Chiyuv the Gavra according to the person who you made the neder with about. So they're arguing. So the Kesef Mishnah says they're only arguing psukim maybe, but he arrives at tzarchim. How? So what I'm going to say, most of it, and the idea behind it, I found there's a sefer called Even Yisrael, written by the Rav of Yerushalayim. His name was Harav Yisrael Yankee Fisher. He was, I personally knew him. I personally heard him give shir. I have to say, and I think I mentioned this once in one of my shir, I had this opportunity. He was the Rav of Zichem Moshe Shul, and anybody who's been to Yerushalayim knows that there's a shtiblach shul called Zichem Moshe, and I would marvel. This man was a genius, and it was a goyin. He was a pesik, a big pesik. And it was a big lam. I mean, I come across this stuff a lot, and I'm impressed with his thinking in longness. Allah, he's nice over my head, but he's anyway. He thinks. He's a very, very clear way of thinking. I would hear him give a mishnayis shir to a group of people every single morning, and the reason that I heard it is because we used to daven. I davened in the big shul. There's like shuls in the shtiblach, whatever. And the big shul there, if you stayed after davening, either to finish up davening, let's say some tillim or whatever they had to do, you sat there, and it was, he was giving a share in the back, and he had about 20 people sitting around the table, the old, tables and benches of Yerushalayim shul. And if you looked at the people, they weren't necessarily the big scholars, mostly very simple people learning Mishnayos. And he would teach it as a simple cheer without any fanfare, translating, explaining, clarity. And he would get questions. And sometimes I'm listening from my end at the other side of the shul, and the questions were as stupid as can be at times. And the patience that he had in answering every one of those questions, I was awed by it. Knowing the level of brilliance that this man has, and he's spending time with every single silly question. And it was silly, it came from ignorance. It was clear that the questions were out of it. And it gave him time, and it was just really impressive, very, very impressive man. And it was a very chashuv Talmid Chacham, big Talmid Chacham. Anyway, so a lot of the basic you say that I've seen there, I believe it's clear in Rambam. This you say, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what the Rambam says. But I was excited to see it there. However, at the end, I think he, goes in a different direction than I would like to go, and we'll bring out how it fits into what we're talking. His basic is saying, which again, I'm not sure it's his Yiddish, but it's so clear, so clear. There's two ways to understand this idea that Oni. First of all, let's understand Erchen. Erchen is a unique type of situation. What is Erchen? The Rambam describes the difference between Erchen and Damim. Damim is I undertake a value of a person, right? the Rambam says this in where is this? Rambam says this later or earlier. Later. What's the difference in erchen dam? Erchen ksuvim min haTorah. Erchen has a certain exact amount, and the Ravid calls it a knas. It's like a knas, like shleishim shaleved. Very interesting. Rambam doesn't agree with that. The v'adomim einam ksuvim, and the domim are not ksuvim. And then he gives the differences in halacha between them. This is in Perek Aleph Halacha Chav Gimel, yesterday's round. But it's a different type of. So what is it? That's the question. What is it? So Pashtus, it's a new. It's the Rambam in Perek Aleph says Erchen name Mechlal Nedarim. It's part of Nedarim. It's Mechlal Nedarim. Nicht nedem Mechlal Nigdrei Hegdish. But it's a new type of. It's a new type. It's Mechlal, but it's a new type. I undertake an erech of somebody. Now, there's two ways to understand the difference between money and Osher. One way is Osher, pay what you can, pay the amount. Oni, pay, you can't, pay minimal, whatever you can. That's one way of understanding. In other words, it's all one key. Erech, Blaney, 50 shkolim, you should be paying 50 shkolim. You can't. There says, okay, pick up our hands, pay what you can. Or, and I believe that this is clear that I'm not. No. Oshir has one type of erech, and Ani has another type of erech. And that's what, if you read the Rambam in Perek Gimel Halacha Beis, what we started off with. Kol ha'erech ha'aktsuvim b'Torah, hein shenois namarich ma'Oshir. That's for the Oshir. The numbers are for the Oshir. He gives nice kohanim to the other. That's his erech. It's not. All he said is kol ha'erech ha'aktsuvim b'Torah. All you should have said is ha'ani gives what he can. No, that the Torah wasn't talking to the ani. The Torah is talking to the Oshir. The ani has a new erech. His erech is kiyashatasiyah. It changes from the nider to the nider. In other words, the Mishnah Hasog Yad goes according to the nider. It's not stam saying Hasog Yad goes according to the nider. What you're saying is there's two types of erech. There's an erech that goes according to the nider, and then an erech goes according to the nider. Which one goes according to the nider? Regular erech. When you come to this hasog yad, that goes according to the nider. And that's pshat. Nice and kol anim tzviyad afilu salah echad v'nifta. Now, I'll go back to understand what we were saying before. That's why the Rambam asked the question different than the Gemara. How do you know give even a sela echad? What I'm saying is, how do you know that amount is called? The Rambam learns that when the Gemara learns that you can't give less, it's telling you you can only be in this league of Ani that you work according to the nidder, not the nidder. According to the nidder, not the nidder. You only go from nidder to nidder only when you can pay a seller. Up to a seller you can go there. The nidder has a shear where he becomes the nidder. I'm sorry, the nidder has a shear where he can be chayav, which is seller. But ain't like seller. He's ice. No more neider. He's not Luffy on neider anymore. Now it goes according to the neider. And therefore, he is chayiv till he pays. Tomorrow he has it doesn't matter. He doesn't have not this pure neider. You have to have a new type of erech according to neider. That's a sog yad keneider. Again, the part that comes from him that he says is that that there's a new thing called hesed yad. From there on, I'm telling you to where I think it has to be given over. Okay. Now he's here. Let's go to the Rambam that we with the Gemara and how the Rambam learns the Gemara. What is Rebbe saying? Look, Mishnah. Av be'erchen kain. This also exists in erech. Ma oni sheherech es ha'oshe noisen erech oni she'ein ha'oshe chayv klum. Aval oshe shama erki alai shama oni v'ama ma shama zeh alai noisen erech oshe. So here too we can have, in this case, the case of Rebbe, which Rambam brings, where an Oni says, I am taking on the erech of the Oshir was noida. So there's two ways to understand that. One, now he moved out of Erchen and moved into Damim. And Damim, there's no hesed yad. There's no such a thing. Hesed yad is a din, a special halacha of Erchen. Now he's out of Erchen. Why? Because he heard the neider, he heard the usher say, I want to give the erech of this guy. I want to give his amount that he's at. Clearly, I'm saying I want to give $50. That's not erech. That's dumb. Or, no. It's ice. You can learn that it's ice hesed yad, but it's not ice erchen. It's erchen without a hesed yad. So here where I totally different what his approach. I want to tell you what I think. He has a very different approach. I don't get exactly his approach. Why he says it, but he said, I think that this. Let's learn the Gemara according to this. You know what the machlekes Rebbe and the Rabbanan is, according to the Rambam. Rebbe learns that this case is an erchen case, and therefore he says a problem. When Rebbe brought this in, the Gemara understood that Rebbe's trying to compare these cases together. And he's trying to show that this is an Erchen case. Rebbe came along and said, it's also in the din Erchen. It's also in Hilchis. There is a case of Erchen. No, this is an Erchen case. It's the pure Erchen case. So therefore the Gemara says, learn Mitzvah from Erchen. Well, no, you don't need a pasuk because you can go. You also go. Even Erchen goes according to Chiyuv and the Gavra. In other words, this idea of being a new concept of a Sagyad is not muchach because you find times not like that. So therefore, the Gemara says you have to come to learn something else. The Rabbanan agree with the idea, with the halacha. They disagree in the Erchen part. The Rabbanan hold that in this case you're not Erchen anymore. In this case you've moved out of Erchen, you moved into Damim, and that's the lashon of the Rambam in the Pirush HaMashayis. Ein bein Rebbe Yochanan machlekes elabar lana heich yeh gam ha'erech me'akorban derech Shabbat. Rebbe is trying to say that Erchen and Korban have a similarity. The Rabbanan says it's not a similarity because it's not Erchen. It's Damim. And therefore you can't learn one from the other. So I think it works out very nicely. But the main kuda that I think we have to get is that there is a new Erchen is a concept of its own, and since it's a concept of its own, it has its own gedorim, and its gather is as follows: there is an Erchen of a regular person. There's an Erchen of an Ashir, and there's a unique new type of which goes according to the Nider, goes according to the person that I'm looking at, or as the lashon of the Gemara, the Gavra. But then there's an erech called Hesegyat, going the erech hanoider goes according to the erech of the noider. It's not. I mean, I don't mean the erech of the noider. According to the noider, that's a new erech, and therefore, in such a case, the halacha is that you pay, and that only goes if there is a chalais of erchin of hesagya, and that's a filuselech. That's when that din can kick in. If that din doesn't kick in, finish. You're now a regular erchin. You don't have that new erchin. You go back to the old one. You don't have the new one. You have the old one. You have the regular one. This new neder, the kafi anoider only can happen up to a seller. So less than a seller, what happens is you're not anymore the neder. You're not kafi anoider. You're kafi anida. I don't have it, so you owe it. You'll owe it later. I think it works out very nicely in the Rambam and explains the Rambam's machlekes with the Ravid Pshat and the Mishnah and the Pirush HaMishnayos. Sei gesund, everybody. Have a great day.